On July 23rd, we are hosting quite an event at the Bell House in Brooklyn, and you can get your tickets now. Eliza and I will be joined on stage by some of the food world's most interesting figures, including Haley Catalano and Chuck Cruz, and the one and only Padma Lakshmi. We will talk about summer cooking and some of the big topics of the day. The event will also feature a live taping of Bon Appetit's Bake Club with Jesse Shepchek and Shilpa Uskokovic. That's Haley, Chuck, Shilpa, Jesse, and Padma, all appearing on the Bell House stage with Eliza and I. July 23rd is the date. Get your tickets at the Bell House website or the link in our show notes. I hope to see you there.
I had fixed the kitchen up, so I had a speaker in each corner of the kitchen. I had a strobe light, which I had to take that out because it was making my little Cocker Spaniel, making him go crazy. I didn't realize that. It just brought me life, and with those blinking lights going on and off, it was a party.
Incredible. This is Taste. I'm your host, Matt Rodbard. Jerry Williams Jr. has performed under the pseudonym Swamp Dogg since 1970 and has been described as one of the great cult figures of 20th century American music. And it was an absolute honor to welcome the R&B singer, songwriter, and record producer into the studio. We talk about him visiting restaurants on the road while touring in the Jim Crow South and working with iconic artists like Patti LaBelle, Doris Duke, and Dr. Dre. We also talk about his new cookbook, which is a real treasure. It's called If You Can Kill It, I Can Cook It, and I absolutely love it. I hope you enjoy my conversation with the one and only Swamp Dogg. Swamp Dogg, welcome to This Is Taste. What an honor to have you in the studio.
Well, thank you very much. I'm honored to be here.
I cannot wait to talk all about your new cookbook. If You Can Kill It, I Can Cook It with Salt. Where'd that name
Without salt.
Without salt. Correction, without salt.
Uh-huh.
That's better.
Yeah.
What were you getting at with that title?
Just wanted to say something that would attract people's attention immediately. Didn't have time. Good merchandising, you don't supposed to have to beat around the bush. People lose interest or forget about what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The mission statement is right there.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a chance to preview it. It's amazing. Pioneer Works put it out. It's a great book because it combines your history with music starting in the 1950s.
Right.
And so for fans of your music, you're going to get wonderful stories, but then you got the recipes.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
How did you, when you were thinking about all the recipes in your life, how did you get to that list of recipes?
Well, I just thought about the things that my grandmothers and aunts and cousins, that they baked, cooked, broiled, whatever. And I just pulled from there. Most of my recipes were tried and used by my family.
Yeah.
And I was the only child, so I'm in a house full of strong women. And I learned how to cook. I learned how to do a lot of things that women do.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't good at, I don't know if I was good at it or not, football and basketball, because the kids would take my ball and use it and wouldn't let me play.
Oh, like I played keep away.
That pissed me off. I would should go back and get them.
Go back and get well, you know what? You're the one who's producing records. You're the one who's recording records. You got this great documentary we'll talk about. So if they're still with us, they're jealous.
Yeah,
we'll say that.
Yeah. Eat your hearts out.
Eat your hearts out. What's it like growing up in Virginia? What's on the menu at your home when you're with your family, checking out the kitchen?
Oh, chicken pot pie, but it's not like the pot pie that you buy, Sara Lee or whoever it is, and throw it in the oven there for 20 minutes. It's really a stew, usually with chicken. But now that we got so many vegans and all that kind of stuff, and no telling what you put in there. But it's just a dough. You cook a chicken, boil the chicken, and then you add these strips of dough that you seasoned and put them in the pan one by one. It's delicious.
And it's time. Takes time.
Yeah.
Making great pot pie like that.
Yeah.
From scratch.
Yeah. Always had cabbage, fried cabbage. I love fried cabbage. I think I'm going to have another cookbook.
I think with the popularity.
If you can kill it, I can cook it again.
You got the title already. That's really good. So when you're frying cabbage, because like cabbage, it can be boring. Yeah. But then you put it in coleslaw, it's great. Or if you fry it, it's even better.
Yeah,
what's that like?
I fry it usually in bacon drippings. But now I'll use olive oil or canola oil or something like that.
Yeah.
But then, to really make it scrumptious, you need bacon drippings.
You need bacon drippings in it. But I like you have alternatives with the olive oil, but sometimes you just got to go bacon.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, your career is illustrious, and we could, there's a documentary about it, and I'm linking to it in the show notes. It's in theaters at this recording, but it will be on VOD at some point. You joined Atlantic Records in 1969 as a producer, as an executive, and you'd had a long career of performing, and you still obviously continue to perform. But when you're at this Atlantic Records job, what's food like in 1969? When you're working in the industry, you're taking people out. You're in Midtown. You're like less than 10 blocks from our office.
The main place that I ate, and most of my record buddies, a place called Tommy Small's. Tommy had the best cook in the world. And when he left, the next one was the best in the world. I'm trying to remember which street it's on. It's off of Broadway.
Is it in Midtown? Was it in Midtown?
Yeah.
Yeah, near the offices.
Yeah. Called Tommy Smalls. He was also known as Dr. Jive. He was a disc jockey, but in the higher echelon of disc jockeys, very recognized, and he could break records quick.
What's food like when you're on the tour? Let's go back a little longer to the early 60s. You met George Jones. You worked with legends in the industry.
Yeah.
When you're on the road touring, what's food like back then?
It's almost like that now, the same. You get so hungry, you just eat about anything. Whatever you can get at that time. You can't really be that choosy about what you want to eat. You eat what's available, as little as you can of fast foods, but you end up eating sometime.
Yeah. So back in the 60s, we have Taco Bell now.
Yeah.
And In-N-Out, but back then,
no, we didn't have those.
What's it like?
You carried your own food a lot of times.
Yeah.
Somebody would cook up some chickens and potatoes, fried potatoes, and you'd have them on the bus or whatever way you were traveling.
What are you drinking?
Coca-Colas, knee-high orange and knee-high grape. I don't even know if they still make those. I love knee-high.
Knee-high, I know the name.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I loved it. They made good soda. And Cokes, they always made a real good soda.
Yeah.
Even when they took the cocaine out of
it. You remember the days when they had that little more spikier experience?
I was wondering why Grandmama and all of them was like so up, like they were, I'll do it, I'll get it, I'll cook it, Hey.
It wasn't just caffeine in there.
No, it wasn't.
I want to ask you a serious question. For many of our listeners, you've lived through history. and they may not have heard this from a traveling musician, but what's food like traveling in the Jim Crow South, in a segregated South, in a South where racial relations are horrible, and you felt the brunt of it. I'd like to hear what that was like.
It was awful. People like me, when I say people like me, people that were born in the South, raised in the South, we really didn't make waves. It's the people that was raised in New York and Chicago, and I'm not saying it was good, but by no means, but they were outraged. Where like we weren't. Hey, as a matter of fact, it was almost a step up. We knew to go around the back of the restaurant immediately as we got off the bus. It's we didn't even attempt to go through the front door. We'd be telling us, come on, we just were gone. And, they rebel and still end up having to go through the kitchen and or wait outside for their stuff to be brought out. It was not a good thing. Because you could feel the hate, and then you would become angry. You could feel all of that. It was not good. It was not good at all. The places that we got to eat were really good, were the Black-owned, and even where the segregation was vast, we had some great Black restaurants, some great cooks. Like now, we just, at least we're not dealing with segregation and all that. It was very trying.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. It's just so important to repeat this retelling of history. We forget these things. Time travels, and we should never forget what you endured. But you resolved, and you became Swamp Dogg.
Yeah.
You became Swamp Dogg. You traveled the world playing music, and I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions about the recipes, because the recipes tell stories about specific musicians. But before we get to that, you write this incredible introduction, and you make the claim that you're writing the greatest cookbook ever, and that Julia Child, Graham Kerr, Betty Crocker, James Beard, and many others are going to be jealous of this. What's it like in 1972 when you're thinking about writing a cookbook?
I started writing the book mainly because I was suffering with high anxiety, and nerves was all frazzled. I was having a hard time because I was moderately successful, and I thought success was going to mean more or mean something, but what I thought was fantasy. It didn't happen like that. You doing well, so you do well. But, I was thinking that the world would become my oyster, that people would bow down when I walked by, like royalty or something. And that's not it. It's a chance to clear your mind of all of the BS and live a normal life, not have to tell a bunch of lies, not have to reveal anything that you really don't want to reveal. That's what you would call a living success, a type of living success. That's all. Money doesn't do it, because I bought a lot of things, and each thing was supposed to make me feel better, and it didn't. It's like you give a child something at Christmas, and they play with it for like 15 minutes, and you never see them play with it again.
Thing,
yeah. I would be in the kitchen alone. My wife was in there a lot because she was actually a chef, but they called them first cooks. Women, that is, they called them first cooks. They would not allow them to be called chefs, but she was a chef. And she showed me how to do little things that, hey, you just don't know. Like when you read the cookbook and they say, now fold in the whatever.
Yeah.
So how do you fold liquids? How do you she could tell me how.
She had that skill.
Yeah, she knew all of those little inside things, how to keep the kitchen going while you're cooking. I'd be making 2 or 3 different things at a time, but like, hey, keep your pots clean at all times, like
Yeah,
you don't know
work clean.
Yeah, you don't know when you're going to have to go back to it and all that. So
it's an incredible story about your wife. I want to go back and just ask you a follow-up about just cooking and how that resolved the anxiety, this idea of solo cooking when all that noise was happening, the success, the not success was eating at you, but you ended up in the kitchen cooking. What was that feeling like while you were cooking?
Well, I had fixed the kitchen up. I had a designer, for lack of a better word, come in and turn my kitchen around. At that time, there was like quadraphonic sound, which lasted about 30 minutes. So I had a speaker in each corner of the kitchen. I had a strobe light, which I had to take that out because it was making my little Cocker Spaniel, making him go crazy. I didn't realize that. We had 380 Christmas lights in the ceiling, but they had the plastic over them, and they just blinked at all times. This is why I love the kitchen so much now. We put a 8-track rack took out. I had made place for the drawers. Now, one of the places where we had the drawers was like under one of the ovens. I had 2 ovens there in the kitchen, and that rack mount 8-track player was in there. I built a bunch of things in the kitchen that wasn't particularly for the kitchen, but it just brought me life, and with those blinking lights going on and off.
It's Swamp Dogg. It's like a party.
Yeah,
in your kitchen,
and it was like that.
You're cooking, and it's a party.
Right. It was. That's what it was. It was a party.
Incredible. Talk about having people over.
Yeah.
Because are you cooking for musicians at the time? I mean, some of your artists, your friends,
and DJs here in New York. Well, just people I was associated when they come in town. There's a lot of them in my book, like Ernie Lena, who was the first black major record distributor in Chicago. Well, actually anywhere. He was the first one. You can see him in the kitchen. Now, I actually learned my waffle making from him. That's the reason I named it after him.
Yeah.
Because, this guy could cook. Oh, man, he could cook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had a lot of people over, and I can't imagine those parties. If those walls could talk, Swamp Dogg.
Yeah.
I'm going to go into some specific recipes because I like memories of colleagues and friends in the industry. I love the T-bone Walker steak. It has the Beaumont seasoning on it.
Mm-hmm.
Why was that important? Tell me a little bit about this steak.
Well, there was a restaurant a couple doors from the Capitol Theater in Portsmouth, Virginia, and I went to see T-Bone Walker play at the theater. A couple doors down, I saw him later in the restaurant. It was a black restaurant. They had great soul food, and he was in there eating. And I loved his music. I loved the way he dressed, everything. And that's my dedication to him. But I was a kid. We weren't friends or nothing like that.
Yeah.
But he did talk to me when I walked up to him and said, Mr. Walker, I really love your music. I really love your blues, And he was cordial, very cordial. I met some that weren't cordial. I always just wanted to be around those musicians, touch them, talk to them. They were great people.
And you at that point, you knew you had an ability with your voice.
I didn't realize other people knew it.
Yeah.
But it's not something I took for granted.
Got it.
I've always been nervous. I'm nervous now before I go on stage.
Yeah. It's probably a good thing.
I'm 119 years old, and I'm nervous before I go up there. Sometime on the way to a gig, I wish the club would burn down before I get there. But you're glad it didn't.
You're playing tonight. You're playing an award show tonight.
Yeah.
You're nervous about going on stage, yeah.
No, because they've given.
Yeah.
I only got 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's not even time for my nerves to get.
It's good.
Yeah.
You got two recipes in here with meatloaf. One is a tribute to Little Milton. The other is a tribute to Tone Loc. Those are kind of different ends of the musical spectrum, but Meatloaf joins them together. Tell me a little bit about these artists. Tell me about the artists, too.
Well, yeah. Well, it was.
Tone Loc was Wild Thing.
Wild Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't like that record.
Really?
No. Until my wife bought it and must have played it 800 times the first day. By the time the third day rolled around, that's not bad. It's pretty good. And she pushed it. That's another, she was another reason that we went into rap productions and so forth. It was that Tone Loc record. That recipe actually should be attributed to my wife.
Yeah.
My wife's love of the Tone Loc record. It wasn't mine.
Let me just follow up. You ended up working with rap artists early on.
Yeah.
What was that experience for music in a genre that maybe initially you weren't so into, but you ended up working in studios with these?
Yeah. We had one of the biggest rap records on our label, which was MC Breed and the DFC doing Ain't No Future in Your Frontin'.
Yeah.
Yeah, we sold 8 million 12 inches on that thing.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Amazing. I remember that. That's his history here.
Yeah. And my wife kept pushing me to get deeper into the productions of rap and so forth. But due to the fact when disco was really doing great, I had 2 records, one by ZZ Hill, one by Freddie North, that they sold just as good as the rap record.
Mm-hmm.
So I refused to go into rap. She said, well, I'm going to do it. She started managing some rap acts and so forth. And I thought just because what I was doing, which was like R&B / Southern soul, that I could make it through the storm. But I found out later I couldn't. And then I was saying things like, well, I hate rapping, ain't nothing, blah, blah, blah. And then when I did finally get in, after I found out it was like going to be a staple, I got into it. But what I produced was a little outside of what it was supposed to be. I didn't like rap, and because you had to have a certain amount of time for the beginning, you had to take a break. I don't care what was happening with the music. You had to take that drum percussion break in the middle. It had to be a certain speed, and it was like, I don't know, formula music or something like that.
Yeah, much of the early rap was. I mean, it was on the beats.
And I refused to do it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't feel it. And then when I did decide to do it, it sounded like crap, because I wasn't in there learning with everybody else, and I was hating when I really was feeling sorry for myself for not getting in at the time.
Yeah.
And that's where my hate came. But it all leveled out.
You worked with a very young, relatively unknown artist named Andre Young, who became Dr. Dre.
Dr. Dre.
What was that like working with that group? That group, what's the group? I'm sorry, I'm forgetting.
World Class Wrecking Crew.
Yeah, the World Class Wrecking Crew.
Yeah.
Pioneering group.
Yeah.
You worked on those records.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
The act, I was managing the act. And
you were on the road managing those guys?
Well, I went on the road a couple times, but I did actually everything from my house office.
Yeah, yeah.
They were on the road.
Yeah.
And they actually, when I had my first meeting with them, I asked them, well, what do you guys want to do? What are you looking forward to? And they said, hey, we want to be able to make at least $10,000 a night. Then they were all underage. I had to play all kind of tricks to get them on shows and so forth. They said that we want $10,000 a night. Okay. I said, now you're going to have to work for it. It's okay, fine. So I would book anywhere from 2 to 3, usually 3 gigs in one night at like $3,500 a night. But they would go from like Sulphur, Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
They would be there. They would do a show like
Lafayette down there.
Yeah, exactly. It's Lafayette.
Yeah.
Like at 7:00 that night. Then I would have them in
Baton Rouge,
Houston. No,
or Houston. Yeah, Houston. You could drive over there.
Yeah, it's Houston, right?
Yeah, yeah.
For like a 9:30 show, and then Tyler, Texas.
Tyler. Yeah,
yeah. And I had rented a bus, a plane. Once we had a helicopter, and we were making anywhere from $3,500 to $5,000 a show. The promoters didn't care for my method because they always had the Wrecking Crew booked as a headliner. I had them going on like at 7:00 at night.
Yeah,
and they would leave and go on to the next gig. And so the promoters hated that. But I said, hey, I don't know what to do.
You want the Wrecking Crew? This is the terms.
This is the time. This is the way it's got to be. And it would be in the contracts. But Dre, who, turned out to be a billionaire.
Yeah.
He was very laid back. He's still laid back. He was just a very, very creative guy who was heavy into what he was doing.
Yeah.
And making his beats and so forth.
Yeah.
So, and it's paid off.
Sure did. Mm-hmm. Tell me about Muscle Shoals, recording there. What's the food like down at Muscle Shoals in the studio?
Actually, the food was all right. You would think you'd get this great food, but that's not all. That's not through the entire South. A lot of those people down there can't cook. We always think that, Alabama, yeah, they can cook. They can't even give you a glass of water. Muscle Shoals, there really weren't any eating places that was worth a damn.
Yeah.
There were, and there's very few fast food places. There was one place we used to eat after the sessions at night, and it was the only place that was open. It was called Piggly Wiggly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they might still be there. But they had pretty good food. And even if it wasn't, there wasn't any alternatives So
that's what you had. I mean, you're there to record music.
Right.
You're there. I mean, maybe food plays a role.
Yeah.
Who did you record with in Muscle Shoals? What was that like?
Oh, I took, let me see, I had Ruth Brown, Swamp Dogg naturally, and trying to think. Yeah, Oscar Tony Jr., Arthur Conley. No, I did Arthur in Macon at Capricorn Studio.
Yeah.
Because that belonged to Phil Walden, who was managing Arthur Conley. So I did that there. Trying to think of some of the artists that Doris Duke, which I had that To the Other Woman, I'm the Other Woman.
Yeah.
Wolf Moon was in Macon. It was between Macon and Muscle Shoals, but I did most of my stuff in Muscle Shoals.
Yeah.
And the musicians, they moved to Muscle Shoals. Like one of the greatest bass players in the world was Robert Popwell. He went on, I got him a gig with, I don't try to hold people back. Aretha Franklin wanted him. So I said, man, go. You know, like Aretha already big overnight, you might say, although she'd been around a while on Columbia. But he ended up as one of the members of the Crusaders. If you look at their last couple of albums, there's Popwell on the album cover with them. And Pete Carr, who we call Beaver, I had met him in Macon, Georgia, and recorded with him. But then he went to Muscle Shoals, and we did Charlie Whitehead, who was Raw Spit.
These are great memories of these names. You write in the book about just the names. Like,
yeah.
You have a really nice moment in the book where you talk about judging an artist by its name, by their name. What the naming of an artist at that time, it was not just important, it said something about the artist.
Yeah, but also one of my ploys was to always get an artist who, when I said their name, it's, oh yeah, I've heard of her. I heard of him. And you have, like with Doris Duke, right away everybody says, yes, we know Doris Duke. But she's the heiress. I forgot what she's the heiress from. Tobacco fortune or some kind of fortune. And that's why they knew it, because her name was always in the news.
Yeah.
But Doris Duke, the one I had, she was named Doris Willingham. And so I just changed it to Doris Duke.
You found this name that was in the news.
So I had a girl that I called Beverly Hills, you know, and a Raw Spit, that was actor man, cause his real name was Charlie Whitehead. And I was trying to put together a gang like Parliament Funkadelic, which was going to have Doris Duke, Beverly Hills, Raw Spit. All this has got like the last two letters of all the names was two, like S-P-I-T-T, you know.
Yeah.
It was about 5 acts that I wanted together. We were going to tour together. It was going to be great, I thought. But for some reason, I didn't ever complete it. I got thrown off on some other productions.
It's the record industry.
Yeah.
You just got to move on to that next project when it calls.
Right, the people calling for it. And right behind Doris Duke, Jerry Wexler called me from Miami, Florida. He was down at Criteria Studio recording, and he called me at home one night about 10 o'clock, and he said, you got anything funk? And this is after I stopped working, not stopped working, I got fired from Atlantic, but I got more done with Atlantic after I left than I did when I was there. So he called me up and said, have you got anything? I want something funky for Didi Warwick, Dion's sister. Wow. And as a songwriter, you always got something, whether you have something or not.
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
sure.
I got the, oh, yeah. And he said, well, send it right down here. And I did but Gary U.S. Barnes and I, we wrote it. We had started writing it anyway for Doris Duke, and we had played it for Doris, and Doris loved it.
This is where the conflicts come in.
Yeah.
Oh man, I know where this is going.
I sent it. I sent it to Jerry. He cut it. It got Grammy nominated, and it didn't win, but it was nominated. And it's called "She Didn't Know." She kept on talking. Originally, it was she didn't know I was your wife.
Yeah.
And because we were heavy in the wife songs, you know. He was raised by a heavy female population. I was raised by a heavy female population. So we can think like women. I ended up sending the record, the song to Jerry, and it was a hit. And then that's when I had problems with Doris Duke. She stopped showing up for gigs, and she would fire me, which she couldn't do because I had her under contract. But she could do it if I had done something wrong, you know. But just to say, I'm finished with you, you're no longer my manager. That's what she would do. She and I actually stopped speaking. But when I moved on to moved on to Nashborough Records to distribute my Mankind label, which I had a gold record with Freddie North on that one called "Don't Take Her, She's All I Got," which Johnny Paycheck had a gold record, which Tracy Byrd had a platinum record.
Ooh. And you got credit on all those?
Yeah.
Songwriting?
Yeah.
You have publishing for all those?
A yowza.
That's a nice little
Hey, man. That's why I thought I was such a big mahaf.
That's why you're redoing your kitchen.
Yeah, and that's really how I accumulated the bad nerves, a couple of bad things.
Yeah.
And but I'm over them now.
I want to close and just ask you, back in Los Angeles, what's it like cooking in the Swamp Dogg household? What are you eating these days?
A lot of grilled chickens from Ralph's Market. Well, Guitar Shorty, he died, but he was living at my house.
Yeah.
Moogstar, who is with me now, as co-producing and a lot of crap.
Mm-hmm.
He's there. But they didn't and they don't give me the inspiration that I require to like go in and say, let me make this hell of a meal. You know, I don't get that. Yeah. I'll send out, I'll eat out, I'll cook sometime. Like just before I left, I made this great squash. Matter of fact, my squash recipe is in the book.
Yeah.
I made the squash before I left because I had a taste for it. But I used to surprise Yvonne, my wife, with meals. You know, I got something special for you tonight. And I'd make, and she loved desserts. I'd make desserts for her. Sometimes 2 and 3 desserts.
Wow, Swamp Dogg, you're nice with the pastry.
Yeah,
I
like doing.
You got
that.
the desserts.
I like that, but I got them all from my aunts and grandmas.
Yeah.
It's I can't take credit, but I'm even more so important than taking credit is that they taught me. They taught me how to cook, what to cook, and they used a lot of salt in those days. That's why a whole bunch of people, the top of their head blew off. But I stay away from salt.
The book is If You Can Kill It, I Can Cook It Without Salt.
Mm-hmm.
And the documentary on Magnolia Pictures, Swamp Dogg Paints a Pool?
Yeah. You haven't seen it yet?
I have seen it.
Oh, did you like it?
It's
Please
incredible. It's incredible. It's in theaters now as of this recording, but it'll be out, I'm sure, on streaming. Check it out.
Yeah.
Your story is remarkable. I loved it.
Thank you.
Love Swamp Dogg, thank you so much for joining this.
Man, I really appreciate this opportunity and this time. And you.
Appreciate it.
And your engineer, too. What's your name?
Clayton.
I like that Clayton should get more of the shout out.
Well,
you're
one of my best keyboard men was Clayton Ivey down in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. You ever heard of Clayton Ivey?
I haven't.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
And as a true musician, as a producer, you recognize the gentleman on the boards, because we have to recognize the gentleman on the boards.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, thank you.
This is Taste is hosted and produced by Eliza Barbanel and me, Matt Rodbard. The show is edited by lead producer Clayton Gumbert and supervised by Pat Stango, Director of Media Production and Development at Penguin Random House. Thanks to Shalia Harris and the production team at Penguin Random House. Theme music by Steve Rydell. Logo and guest illustrations by Ellie Skurzat. Visit Taste online at tastecooking.com and make sure to subscribe to our newsletter to keep updated on all cool things in the world of taste.